travelers, and luxury destination adventurers. It's now time to enjoy the journey on Enjoy the Journey with David Hartman and guests. Hi, David.
Greetings from paradise. Welcome to the Enjoy the Journey luxury travel show. David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors. I'm the travel agent that always asks two questions to my clients. What is your bucket list trip, and where do you wish you were right now? Wishing you a fantastic Monday. It's a wonderful Monday here in the Keys, coming to you live from Key Largo, Florida. Want to welcome our audiences from A1A Radio and Cruising Country Radio on the audio simulcast. And of course, our YouTube followers following us live here on the Multimedia Show on the A1A Media Network. We have two wonderful guests today on our Keys Community Update. And what a perfect timing for the show. Last night, it was announced that the Keys are due to open to visitors on June 1st, 2020. That's it, just around the corner. And that is big breaking news. What a greatly timed show. I scheduled one of my first guests months ago, and she's here today. So who are our two guests? We have Margie Smith, President, Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce, and we have Elizabeth Mosinski, President of Key Largo Chamber of Commerce. We have Margie on first after our break, after I go through some sponsors. Then we're going to have Elizabeth on about 2:30, and we're going to talk about what's happening in the Keys, the update, and what this news means to us, and it's valuable information that you want to know. So first off, A1A Radio and the A1A Media Network wants to thank our sponsors, Vic Figueroa from Keys Smartphone Repair, Chip Bell Author, the Jake Sullivan Series, chipbellauthor.com. Michael Marinelli, the real estate conch. Mike's a big fan of the show, was on 2 weeks ago. Jim LaPointe, talked to Jim for the best mortgage rates in the Keys. In Destination Florida, Florida Keys and Key West. And then we have Monroe County Bail Bonds. Come on vacation, go home on probation. And Health Genie, our new sponsor, Dale Clemens. Check out the Health Genie System Checker. We have a short break. When we get back, we have Margie Smith, President of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce. The Health Genie System Checker answers three important questions when you are feeling ill. What is wrong with me? How ill am I? And where can I receive care? System Checker puts the information and answers at your fingertips with the most advanced triage and healthcare technologies available. Engage on a personal level in your own words to describe your symptoms with no smart trees or drop-down menus that force self-diagnosis. Health Genie System Checker provides an avenue to early healthcare engagement. Well, welcome back to our show, the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show here on Radio A1A and the Radio A Media Network. Again, wishing you a wonderful Monday. Our first guest is Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef's Chamber of Commerce, and she's also the business consultant for the Small Business Development Center of South Florida. Margie, how you feeling today? Happy Monday.
Great. So happy to be with you. Thanks for having me a part of this. I'm very excited for sure right now about opening the county as well, coming up here soon.
And I talk about great timing. I talked to you like 2 months ago to bring you on the show. And then all of a sudden last night, I'm like, what perfect timing? Because people have been asking me, they've been watching my videos of me kayaking and watching my show. When are the keys opening? And as of right now, the keys are scheduled to open on June 1st. Is that correct?
That's right.
That is fantastic news. But first, let's tell us about yourself. I met you back in 2014 at my first Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce meeting. And then I also got to know you at a Key Largo Chamber of Commerce gala the next year. And now I am a proud member of the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce and already benefiting from being a member. I've actually had some direct, wonderful travel business from being a chamber member. So tell us first, though, how did you get to the Keys and what are you doing down here?
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone has a different story of how they ended up here. For me, I was on a completely different track. My husband and I were living in the Washington, D.C. area, Arlington, Virginia, and had just about December of 2004, he ended up making a big change, basically from his previous career. He was a hedge fund manager up in Maryland, and they did quite a lot of research for, Wall Street companies. And I was, at the time, I just had a baby a month or so before, and we had to make a decision about whether we're sticking around DC or whether we're going somewhere else, just because for me, I've always been very focused, up until that point in my career. And I was just about to have my first child in November of 2004, I guess that was. So he had an opportunity down here working for a really interesting company doing what they call sort of investment research. And that was something that doesn't necessarily come along every day in the Keys. We also have family in Key West as well that we've been visiting for many years. The Smiths down there, Jim and Marilyn Smith, are my husband's parents. And so we were really excited about the possibility of checking it out down here. But for me, this is not something that we had planned way in advance. Like a lot of people, we sort of on a whim, he got a job opportunity down here. So we came down, and I had been in aviation, actually, at the hub of sort of aviation technology and public policy for many years, for 14 years, actually. Everything from an aircraft mechanic to an airport manager to airspace design to representing the nation's public airports before I left DC, right before I came here. So for me, it was a huge gamble in that it was the first time I've ever not find. But once we came down and checked out the office that he was going to be working out of at this investor relations firm, we really thought that it was like someone staged a film production. There were manatees in the canal outside the window and just beautiful weather in January. And it just seemed a little too good to be true. Like, is this real? And so ultimately it didn't take much to convince us to go for this opportunity. And then I came down with a very small child at the time. And that's how we started our life down here. Big change.
Big move for the family. And now you have more than one child?
Yeah. So I've got two kids that are now teens. One's 12 and one's 15.
Fantastic. Well, wishing your kids health and safety right now in this crazy time that we're in.
And I gotta say too, I will say it was pretty easy to plug in with my baby, just because, again, I can't imagine another place that would be so exciting, a place to be showing an infant the world, and the Keys too. Just again, with the access to nature, we just take so utterly for granted here sometimes.
True. I mean, I heard things like for kids, it's grown up. It's not easy down here. To me, I grew up in Connecticut where the winter seemed like to never end and the home of short, dreary days. So moving here was a godsend. My story is a little similar. I was actually in Northern Virginia in Alexandria, and 16 years ago, I moved here for the scuba diving and bought a house. I didn't have a family, but I came here for the lifestyle change, and it was a big change coming from that area. Mm-hmm. So I know the DC area well, and do not miss that traffic one bit.
Well, and I'm originally from Chicago. So, being from Chicago, we think of Chicago kind of tough, and it's just a whole different scene down here. I think one of the things that for me was a benefit when we looked initially at this opportunity was, okay, how close are we to a mall? Because I want to be as far as possible from that whole environment. And so for me, it was a great thing to be away from all of that, in the big city, just because I took it so for granted, I guess, at that time to have those things. But I was really looking to not have my kid raised hanging out in the mall.
Yes, the lifestyle down here is a bit different than Chicago. I love Chicago, but I would not want to live there, especially for their winters. I have friends and business associates in the Chicago area, and every winter they just complain incessantly about the weather. So I first met you. You were the United Way, and then I remember you moved on into, I believe, Center State Bank. And then you picked up two new roles, both the SBDC, but then you became the president of the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce. Now, how did that come about?
That's a good question. So I have always had organizational reform to be various, I guess that's the one key throughout the beginning of my career all the way to my end of my career most recently is the common thread has always been organizational reform. So I've always had various projects going on. So the United Way, that was a big turnaround between 2010, 2015. And my involvement in Ocean Reef Chamber was actually part of my involvement in many, many chambers throughout the Keys. So I've been a member for a long time of all of the chambers. And Ocean Reef Chamber was one more place we needed to establish ourselves when I was the CEO of United Way. And I found that at the same time, I've just had a long relationship as a member and then not even a board member until about maybe 4 years ago, actually. I don't think it's even 5 yet. I was involved at the time with trying to make a bunch of changes there to bring it up into the 21st century, which is something I'm sort of known for throughout the Keys, is helping bring organizations to a little higher level of function.
And the Ocean Reef Chamber is a valuable piece of the community up there. And now keep in mind that we have a worldwide audience. So we talk about Ocean Reef and Ocean Reef Club. That is in far north Key Largo. It's almost like a different region of the Keys. It's a gated community, a very wonderful community, very, very affluent. Why would someone want to join the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce? What benefit is there for them?
Sure. So there's several things. I guess, you've got 5 chambers throughout the Keys plus Ocean Reef Chamber. And Ocean Reef Chamber, just to be clear too, that started, like many of them, as a sort of a business association and became formally a chamber as recently as within the last 10 years, actually. And it's really come a long way. So I guess the big thing about Ocean Reef Chamber is it gives you the opportunity to get your business, your product in front of folks who live in Ocean Reef. We're very much on the same page as members about keeping a high level of service and quality, a standard that we meet. And there's just a great sense of community there. Ocean Reef isn't necessarily known for being super friendly to outsiders, but I feel like that's changed dramatically since the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce has really come a long way working with the Ocean Reef Community Association and the Ocean Reef Club itself to just make sure that we are bringing in a competitive environment and great services for Ocean Reef Club. And at the same time, I feel like there's been a great understanding there to expand the outreach into the community as well.
And it is about community outreach. I joined the chamber after going to, I guess, there's numerous meetings, and I was very impressed to see how connected the community was. And I volunteered recently, I believe it was in January or February, at their community, the All Charities Weekend.
Right, that's the Ocean Reef Community Foundation. Yes, they came about because several years ago there used to be fundraisers throughout the year that took place at Ocean Reef, and they decided to consolidate basically the one time that all of the different programs that are funded by the Ocean Reef Community Foundation would have one big fundraiser. Several different elements of that, and the Ocean Reef Chamber has definitely developed an important piece of that weekend that we do in cooperation with the Ocean Reef Community Foundation.
Oh, it was a wonderful.
And that supports a lot of programs in the area.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact they consolidate the charities because obviously these are affluent people and they're getting, pursued by many different donors to be donors. So it is very impressive. And I was impressed that the Chamber of Commerce allowed us to volunteer at that event. So I do appreciate that. We're here with Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce. Margie, so June 1st comes. How does that affect Ocean Reef Club and the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce?
It's a good question. Again, this press release just came out last night, so we haven't really had a whole lot of time to adapt to it. As we're standing right now, the governor has had statewide the 50% capacity on restaurants and those sort of establishments that has just come into play. It was 25% before that, so we're gradually opening more and more. It's a little bit of odd timing just because Normally, we have monthly luncheons throughout the year. It's always the first Wednesday of the month that we have a Ocean Reef Chamber luncheon for businesses who are interested in joining. That would be a good way to check us out. And those go through June and then start up again in September. So for the Chamber events itself, we have a few big events that are actually some of our biggest of the year, including the golf tournament that we do every late May, early June. And we have, because of COVID-19, canceled those events. However, September, the first week of September, will be the next chance for folks who want to check out the Ocean Reef Chamber to come join us for a luncheon.
I highly recommend coming and visit. If you need to be a guest, give me a call, David Hartman, and you can be my guest to be an Ocean Reef Chamber member. And the luncheons are very productive. They're very well attended. You guys have phenomenal speakers come in. And I'm actually involved in the Ocean Reef Toastmasters because of being a guest at the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce luncheon in January of 19. And Rich Urshik spoke. And I said, I always wanted to join Toastmasters. And I was already looking at joining Ocean Reef Chamber membership, which I'm now a proud member. Uh-huh. And I'm also now part of the Ocean Reef Toastmasters Club, which is doing very, very well.
Yeah.
It helped get me to host the show.
Mm-hmm. So you're aware too, the history of that with the Toastmasters, we had about a decade ago, I was involved in a club that was out of Marathon that extended into Islamorada to do Toastmasters. And then that Ocean Reef Club just started this past year. Homesteads Club has been around for a very long time as well. But I got away from Toastmasters for a while, and I'm excited to see that it's coming back in Ocean Reef. It's been a really great, I guess, other opportunity for our chamber members to get to know each other, beyond the, of course, wonderful opportunity to practice public speaking. That's what it's all about. And it's there for you to just have a very safe, fun environment to get stronger speaking skills.
I agree. And I've been speaking for many years. I was a sales trainer in my 20s. I've run businesses and been presenting. But one thing I wasn't used to is live reads or even doing like recorded reads I do for the show now. And I really enjoyed being put in a Toastmasters environment and given that chance to think quick on my feet and do live reads. And now I'm doing all sorts of presentations as I go through their Pathways program. Those of you who don't know what Toastmaster is, Google it, Toastmasters International, and check out a local chapter where you live. We're here with Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce. Margie wears many hats, as we all do when we volunteer in the Keys. And obviously her Chamber of Commerce role is a more volunteer role. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. Our entire board is made up of volunteers. And again, it's been a labor of love. Our particular role has been lasting 2 years as president. And anyone who's been on the board, for a few years is under consideration if they're interested in stepping up to that role. And I'm actually looking to September, actually, would be when we switch over to the next person taking over their 2-year term. And that's right. At Iberia Bank that I reached out to because I think he'd make a strong leader as well. Yes.
I'm actually in Ocean Reef Toastmasters with Peter. He's phenomenal, very active in our Toastmasters Club. And the one or two times he filled in for you as the vice chair, he did a wonderful job at the luncheon a few months ago, back when we could have luncheon. So I'm looking forward to our next luncheon, whenever that may be. But you also have a career as the business consultant of the Small Business Development Center. And you're doing some very, very important work right now involving businesses in the Keys and getting tourism back on track. Can you tell us about that, please?
Sure. So I'm actually a member of Ocean Reef Chamber through 2 different organizations. One is my husband's company, Islamorada Investment Management, a wealth management firm that's an independent firm based in Islamorada. The other is as a business consultant through the Small Business Development Center. So Small Business Development Center at FIU is where I work. I actually covered the Keys. I work with clients pretty much exclusively in the Keys, but to help them grow their business in a lot of different ways. We have a whole team of consultants actually back in Miami who can work everything from, whether it's growing your business through access to capital, whether it's import-export, whether it's website, SEO optimization, that sort of thing. Lots of different areas, including really the strong point, I think, of our particular SPDC is financial management. Helping you figure out, I've been around and I've been growing my business for a number of years. Why am I no more profitable than I was 5 years ago? We can do a lot with that. And I'm also, this year, looking forward to restarting. Sorry, I heard
So
something.
you broke up a little bit, but now you're back. Go ahead.
So anyway, yeah, with the SBDC, my role for the normal blue sky day is to business consultant helping small businesses grow throughout the Keys. Under Emergency Services Function 18, our entire organization changes their role as part of the state CERT program so that I become essentially an emergency responder as it relates to economic stabilization, and that's the key for Emergency Service Function 18. So I have been since March 17th working with small businesses all throughout the Keys on getting access to loans. Pretty 24/7, even though the three vehicles were originally the state emergency bridge loan program, and then the two SBA loans, the EIDL loan, economic impact injury disaster loan, which is a traditional disaster loan vehicle the SBA has had for many years, modified slightly for the fact that it's not a physical disaster. And then the one vehicle, one from the CARES Act, was developed out of that legislation, Root Protection Program. So there's a lot of details on that, and the implementation of it is changing almost daily. So I've been working closely with both folks at the SBA and our organization, and also all of these businesses throughout the Keys to demystify the process and make sure they know about all the options they have to help their business in this time of need.
It's very valuable information. I'm a business owner in the Keys, and obviously I'm in travel and tourism, which is a very difficult time right now. And there are a lot of choices out there for assistance, and it is very confusing to have a resource that you can go to that'll help guide you make sense. I remember when you first had information right away in March about the state bridge loan program. I didn't quite understand. I was going to apply for it, but it was actually your articles that taught me, you know what, this is not for me. I mean, the payback period was too short term, and it goes on your report if you don't pay it back. I'm like, I don't need that. And truly, as a bridge loan, any other funding goes right to that. Your resources were so educational that it let me decide that I'm going to go a different way, to keep my business active and growing. So,
what helps a situation like that too is just have someone who understands our economy. And again, I'm a member of so many chambers for such a long time, doing business up and down the Keys, that it's been helpful. I guess for me, I've been hearing directly from business owners throughout this whole period, and it's been really educational for me to see exactly what's going on moment to moment with businesses. But again, having someone who can explain the process for all these loans and understand the federal government at the level that I have in the previous background, it's been good for, I think, the Keys and good for me to be in this role, because we've really been able to provide a lot of.
Yeah, it's important for people out there to know that there are choices, and today we're talking about it because we're talking about return of tourism to the Keys, and we're talking about why the business here have been impacted. And this is Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce, and she's also the business consultant with the Small Business Development Center here in South Florida. And we're talking about some real facts here, that there are resources for businesses to apply to. So if you're a listener out there and you're kind of struggling with what's happening, if you've been impacted by what's happening, look around for resources to educate you, because it is very confusing, the different choices you have.
Oh, and can I jump in there for a minute?
Go ahead.
In case you got anyone outside the Keys who's listening, keep in mind too that you have a small business development center at various locations. There are
correct.
Throughout the Keys. So if you live in, say, California, and you're listening to this because you often come to the Keys, know that you have a local SBDC out there that has consultants that at no cost to you are making these services available to demystify the process and get access to loans. And the PPP program, believe it or not, I thought about 3 days ago that would have been used up. But I've got a couple more of banks in the Keys right now that are still have PPP loan open for funding businesses that apply.
Very nice. So before I let you go, we do have some questions in our YouTube chat box. If you're following on YouTube, folks, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and click on that notice button. It does really help us out. So our friend who listens to every show, Tonto Man, says, howdy. I hear a lot of people have similar stories that they moved to the Keys and started a business. If I want to move to this year, how hard is it to buy a house and start a business there?
Is that for me?
Yeah. Well, I think it is for you, because you have the resources to help them.
Sure. As far as buying it's different if you're buying a business versus buying a house. So buying a house, no question, we have lots of realtors throughout the Keys that can help you. Actually, even in Key West, my father-in-law is a realtor, a broker down there as well. So he used to be the head of the Coast Guard, actually, back in the 90s. He's been doing a brisk business in real estate in Key West. we have so many realtors throughout the Keys. Any local bank would be thrilled to have you with a residential loan. There are mortgage loan officers throughout every area of the Keys. The challenge really is just making sure that you have a really good idea ahead of time what your costs will be compared to where you are now, so that whatever your income source is matched up pretty well with what your expected expenses will be.
Very good advice. Very good advice. So Margie was Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce, also business consultant for the Small Business Development Center. How do people get a hold of you if they have questions on the Chamber of Commerce or they want to become a member?
Okay. Well, I guess the best way would probably be to just go to oceanreefchamber.org and you'll see information there, both an application online, in fact, you can do that, or you can reach out to Jill Alonji, who is the executive director. She'll be happy to respond to your interest in phone calls. And just be aware, too, that one of the requirements with doing business on Ocean Reef is to be registered through ORCA, which is the Ocean Reef Community Association. And you have a registration through that, and then you become a chamber member as well. But if you're a chamber member, you actually get a 30% discount on your ORCA registration fees each year. So that's something kind of unique to Ocean Reef I want to make sure I mention. But again, then you have access to a really interesting environment and some thriving business opportunities as well.
Very nice. Discount memberships available to start. So check out the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce website. And Jill Lange is the director at Ocean Reef. It's oceanreef.org is the site again?
Ocean Reef Chamber.
Oceanreefchamber.org. That's right, oceanchamber.org. And I'll attest you as a member, it's a absolutely wonderful chamber, especially if you want to connect with businesses that work in Ocean Reef, you want to connect to the members of Ocean Reef. It's really the one way to get access up there because it is a very private community, a gated community. And also, Margie, what's the best resource to find out what you're doing with the Small Business Development Center?
Yeah, good question. That's so FIU is the host institution for the SBDC here. So it's SBDC, Small Business Development Center. SBDC.fiu.edu is our website. You'll see the list of consultants there. You'll see the kind of consulting we do, and they will hook you up with an SBDC consultant in your area. In this case, it's Miami and Monroe County under the FIU one, and address the various needs you have to try to grow your business, whether it's getting a loan, whether it's expanding in a new market. We've got a lot of different expertise there.
Excellent. So those listening, if you have questions and you're struggling with the different choices, if you're local or if you're not local, the SBDC has numerous chapters around the country, and please check out their websites. They've been a valuable resource for me and my business. Margie, I can't thank you enough for having you today. It's Margie Reef, the president of the Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce and a business consultant for the Small Business Development Center here in South Florida. And we're going to go to break. Margie, thank you for coming. You can close out your browser and have a fantastic Monday.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Everyone, we're going to be right back. When we get back, we have Elizabeth, second time on the show. And she's the president of the Key Largo Chamber of Commerce and Key Largo Visitor Center. We will be right back. Well, folks, we're going to start fading out pretty soon. I'm hearing my closing music. Thank you for joining us for our community update today. In Key Largo, and we had Margie Smith, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce and business consultant in the Small Business Development Center in South Florida. And we also had Elizabeth Masinski, president of Ocean Reef Chamber of Commerce, president of Key Largo Chamber of Commerce, and also president of the Key Largo Visitor Center. Florida Keys are reopening on June 1st. Put that on your calendar, and you heard it here first. The July 4th parade in the Keys is still on. Now, I heard from some of you may not have heard Elizabeth on the feed. That's okay. The recording of the show will have her on. Some of these broadcast things and broadband don't work out, but don't worry. Watch the recording of the show, and it'll be a wonderful interview you're going to hear. But she had some wonderful updates. Keys are open. Check out the Visitor Center, the website. Monroe County's Facebook page has updates. June 1st is the opening date, and we hope you come down because we miss our visitors in the Keys. So I'm David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency, and I'm the travel agent that has two questions. What is your bucket list trip? Where do you wish you were right now? How do you reach me? 305-453-9208 and Dave at bucketlisttrip.com. Have a fantastic Monday.